Hello, Recharge. Welcome to week 6, where we are going to talk about activation. So here's the deal, y'all. We all have favorite sage powers. We all have ones we naturally gravitate towards. Rick is one of the most innovative. He loves innovation. He's so good at it. Especially if I'm stuck on something, he gives me options. And I love an activate power. Like, okay, I get where you're at. What's the next thing we could do to get you where you want to be? So, we're going to talk about the body sensations of each of the powers and some of the questions you can ask yourself to help you pick which sage power. Because the other fun part about activate isn't necessarily that you have to activate to activate. It's like activate and use innovate, activate and empathize. So, it's kind of a lovely, like, I don't know, moving forward sage step, and you choose which step you want to take. So, Rick, go ahead and get us centered. I'm going to take you up
Yeah,
on this. And
yeah. Let's get grounded and centered and all that good stuff. So close your eyes and imagine for a moment that you could drop an anchor out of your body that drops down into the earth, that pierces the surface of the earth and keeps dropping lower till it goes all the way into the molten core of the earth. And then with each inhale, invite the energy of the planet up into your body. And with each exhale, let go of any tension, any stress. In with being centered, grounded, connected, and focused. Out with any energies that just aren't serving you. And I'm going to use that anchor and send down to the core of the earth the beauty around me, the red rocks, blue skies, and energy of Sedona. And that all bounces off the core of the earth, and the unique energy of this beautiful place rises up and invite Sedona into your heart. This just incredible beauty, the magic of the energy here, the vortexes. If you've been here before, perhaps your powerful memories of times here, and just bring that into your heart. Then allow your crown to open and experience the light of that highest, wisest part of your being shining brightly like a light behind your eyes. And then down through your throat and into your heart, where it mixes with the energy of the earth and the energy of Sedona, and fills your being. And now let's bring our awareness to our breathing. Go ahead and place your hand on your belly. And just feel the movement of your body as you breathe in and out. Now add in the sound of your breathing. Hear the difference between the inhale and the exhale. Now feel the difference in the temperature of the air coming in and the air going out. Now smell the difference between the inhale and the exhale. It's a slightly different smell. Now taste the difference between inhales and exhales. Breathe through your mouth and taste it. And now open your eyes. Welcome back to the here and now. All grounded, centered, connected in our higher brains. You're muted, Theresa.
We were meditating. Shirzad talks about, if you have a chance to listen to more info, he talks about how this is really oversimplification because we have whole brains, but we tend to elicit excitement. That's what happens when neurons are firing together on one or the other side. And even with an activate power, sometimes it's going to make sense to go into your left brain. And like if you need to use compartmentalization, we've talked before about one of the stages of grief is busy. And that to me is activate. It's like, okay, what's next? What's the next best? What's the next thing I need to do? What's the next step? What's the next step? So keep in mind, it doesn't mean that being in sage means you don't work at all in your left brain, but it tells you when it's time to do that. So really quickly, and I love this part too. He goes through the power, like the positions. And every time we do a pod, I teach you guys about martial arts. So I'm just going to show you a couple of the easiest to understand ones. The first is anytime we're stressed or anxious, our shoulders fall forward, we hunch, and we spend a lot of time like this if we're driving or typing. So one of my favorite parts about martial arts is you pull your shoulders back down along your spine and you elongate right here. So instead of being in a hunch position, you're in an aligned position and you are able to take in more breath. And that breath is going to help to release any kinds of stress or tension that's in your body. The other positions I've always thought innovate. When you see Rick talk about innovate, he does a lot of hand motions. So if you're struggling with an idea, it's like, what could I come up with? Right? Like try putting yourself in that position. Activate is more of a stand strong, what's next? What can I do? Rick used to do this all the time on the phone. We met on phone before we did Zoom back in 2016. And I would hear that all the time, but I didn't know what he was doing. But he was walking around doing this and the activate power. Empathize power. If you feel like you need to empathize with someone or something, put your hands on your heart. It engages your heart right away. And we've had actually clients and people going through the PQ program that have a hard time listening to their significant other. And in that case, it was like, all right, even if you don't know what to say back, like put your hand on your heart, show that you're caring, show that you're listening, show that you're engaging. And navigate is more of that, like, kind of that thinking power, like, what is important here? And I see people take on a thinking face. Like they'll lean forward and they'll do this or they'll look up. And that's the other one for explore is also like a leaning forward, like you're leaning in, like what else? And there's a curiosity. So each of the sage powers has a different feeling and kind of a body functionality to it. We want you to start practicing maybe one of the ones you're not as good at. You guys have been doing this program for a while, so maybe sage perspective is like, I got that. Great. Now start practicing navigate, right? Like practice some of these other sage powers that can then help you get better at it or more effective at it. Let's see, what was my least favorite used to be navigate. And I also didn't like, he'll talk about it next week. I didn't like how he'd always say, go to the end of your life. I don't like that. But when he starts engaging the higher self again, and I'm like, okay, I like that. And now the navigate question is more like, what's most important here? What matters here? And as I move into the holidays, I think of that, right? It's not always what I think is important. It might be something is important for someone else, or something is important for my family or my mom. I can do that. I can do that. Remember how we used to talk about the sage bypass? I think that is activate, navigate, right? Like what matters most and what's the next step. And we bypass all the other stuff. So let's go through and we'll talk about last week. How was that for you with accept and convert?
Yeah. What was that experience like doing? Were you able to tense and say, I choose to accept? Or were you able to find gift and opportunity in pieces as they came through? Were you able to try to innovate your way through situations? So, Dawn, share what your week was like.
Are you sure you want me to? Anyway,
Of course, always.
um, yeah, the I did a lot of accepting so far this week. And what I noticed was when you do that tense up and release, it really helps at that moment, right? Um, didn't do a lot of converting, really, to be honest. Um, but yeah, that accepting or the accept thing, the tense up and the release thing worked for me. Um,
Did you tense your hands or your whole body, or what did you tense?
I I did like my whole body. I felt it more in my hips
Hmm.
than anything, really.
Hips is
Like,
emotion, by the way. The
but really,
and childhood. Yeah, that's hips tends to be where we store
yeah, I
emotions,
don't
and
know.
especially
I,
childhood.
I don't know why I gravitated toward that so much, but it just felt like that was the hub, I guess, if you will. You know what I mean? Like that's where it all is, right? Maybe a little bit in the stomach and stuff like that, but yeah, the acceptor, except for now, I love that, and then it actually releases something or makes it it works. And yeah, like I had to do it a few times this week, but or multiple times a day this week, but yeah, it I like the practice, and I don't think he really touched on that at all on the first hear that. I wasn't paying attention, I wasn't ready to hear.
No,
It
no,
wasn't.
this is new. This is a new little technique. I mean, we did the tense and release in the gym.
Right.
Yeah, remember, oh yeah, that's in the brain gym, but now it has a new task and purpose.
I was going to say it wasn't really connected to anything at that point, right? It was just there, and I'm just like, why are we doing this? Like, yeah, you feel the in you, um, and then it's gone, obviously. But your whole body just, for me, my whole body just kind of
Mm.
like my shoulders went down, just like I could breathe deeper. Everything. It was just an experience for me.
Thank you for
Yeah,
sharing. That's beautiful.
absolutely loved it.
Good.
Yay.
I'm going to continue to use it as well. So hopefully convert sooner or later here. But yeah,
At some point, right? Like work on what you can for now, except it sounds like that's working. Love that.
yeah, yeah.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Tracy, what was your experience like?
I have to say that working on Accept and Convert last week was the perfect timing in my life for that. We've talked about Christmas stress, family stress around the holidays. So it was the perfect week to practice it. I really like the fact that you can accept and not have to do convert. You may convert later. I really like that option. Um, I had a lot of practice accepting and trying to convert with my kids, the plans for the week. I'm a little behind on pretty much everything to do with Christmas. Sick kids, and one day I had my whole day. I'm like, this is the one day I have to myself to get caught up, and I had a sick kid. It's like, well, okay, just accept this, Tracy. It is what it is. I can't do anything about it. How can I convert this? And I had a sick kid with me. We had to run errands. I had to pick up his Santa gift with him in the car. But then it worked out, and we turned it into a day where I'm like, well, you're sick, but you're not that sick. So we went and actually did some Christmas shopping together, and we had a nice little day, even though he was under the weather. So it turned out to be actually a fun day. Um, Finding the gift. So I did it. We have split families. We have like 8 to 10 Christmases every year to go to, and I'm like, it stresses me out, and I'm like, I hate this. I love Christmas, but I hate going all this. It's too much to do. I'm like, how can I convert this? Well, I got to thinking about, I have very close friends that hardly have any family at all. And I actually called them. I was like, I'm using you to help me get through this time of my 8 to 10 Christmases where I know that you don't have a lot to go through. And so we talked about, wow, my friend lost her parents, both parents in the same year, and she doesn't speak to her sister and doesn't have anywhere to go for Christmas. So it's like, okay, I have a gift. I have so much family around, even though sometimes it's hard to do it all. I'm blessed to have that. So I'm trying to turn my stress into a gift. Um, so yeah, lots of action around Christmas stuff. So accepting, I didn't do a lot of the tensing. I feel like I've been very distracted with so many pieces going. But I didn't do a lot of that, but a lot of accepting, and some converting. So it was a good week.
I love
Excellent.
that it turned out to be a great gift, hanging with your son, which was like, oh man. And then it was like, by accepting it, who knows if it would have ended up there in the first place? But by accepting it, that's where it went. Does it make sense what I'm saying? Like it may or may not have gone, it could have gone off track and it could have had you go down a different path, but we know what happened when you accepted it.
Yeah, yeah, it was a good day.
Love that.
And
Thank you.
play
I,
around
I
with
needed to hear that.
that tense and release. It's a fun tool. It took me a while to get into it. I didn't do it the first time around, but I did it on the revisit. And you're going to have a revisit at the end of all this. There'll be 6 weeks
Okay.
going back through and trying stuff again. So,
Okay. I like it in the PQ. I do remember liking it in the gym, so I will definitely give it a try.
yeah, it's a practical application for it. It's a lot of fun. Nicole, what was your week of accepting and converting like?
It was funny. Um, the biggest thing that I was working on this week with Accept or Convert was with my manager. And, I'm not really a fan.
Should we
But
just call her a micromanager? I mean,
micro is my
your
micromanager.
micromanager.
Yeah. Um, and so, every time I had to have an interaction with her or whatever, my accept tense thing was holding my breath. So I would inhale a big breath and just hold it. And then I would exhale. And then that was the release. And I noticed I was doing that like as as she's talking to me and whatever. I'm like, ah, okay. And I towards the end of the week it got almost funny to me, because I was like, how many times can I accept one person? How many times can I do this in every single interaction with her? And she's not going to change, right? And I'm not going to change. I don't want to be micromanaged, And so it was very much, okay, so maybe I need to accept something bigger. Maybe I need to focus on accepting that I'm choosing to stay here until my bonus payout in March. Like this is maybe that's what I need to shift my focus to instead of micromanaging my interactions with her, where I'm focused on each little thing happening. But yeah, I started almost laughing every time I was holding my breath. I was like, oh, this is here doing it again. Here we go again. So yeah, so it was interesting.
So the commitment is to accept right now, at least till March. That's kind of where you're going with it.
I think that's my plan. Yeah. Yeah.
And would you normally hold your breath if you were stressed or upset?
I would normally hold my breath, but I would not exhale.
And you wouldn't make a choice. You wouldn't bring
Right.
consciousness to it. It would be almost like a reaction, like holding your breath. And now you're bringing consciousness. I love that.
Exactly. Exactly. So yeah, it's that release that I was like, okay, accept. Where okay, before it was, yeah, I would like hold my breath and be like, oh my God, stress, you know, and not let it go. So it's definitely different.
Yeah, I wonder if there's a way that you could convert, just convert the reoccurring annoyance into something that serves you. Like,
Oh,
it's just an energy. Oh, here's that annoyance energy. And use that as a reminder to do something that you're wanting to do on a regular basis. Like for me, I'm trying to stay more hydrated.
Yeah.
So when something comes up again and again, and it's just this mental loop, like I keep going back and wanting to beat myself up because I didn't do something perfectly. And that voice starts going again. I'm like, oh, here it is again. Great, time to drink my water. And I drink a sip of water, and I'm getting so hydrated rather than fighting that, oh, I don't want to be having that. I shouldn't be beating myself up. Accept the convert. I just treat it as an energy. Oh, there it is again. Time to drink.
I love
So,
that. And that is something that I can do while I'm on meetings with her on the video call, right? Is just take another drink. Just take another drink. So
right,
yeah, I love that.
right. Use that constant something that you can count on. Oh, it's going to come up again and again and again.
Exactly. Yep. It's always going to
Let's
be there.
use that for something good rather than
Yep.
trying to eliminate it.
Love it.
Beautiful. Thank you, Nicole. Alan, what was your week like of accept and convert?
Well, it was definitely the week to work on this. I spent half the week in my hometown with my mother that has dementia. So I had accepted before the trip what was going to happen because the pattern is there. I mean, I go every 3 weeks. Having said that, the conversion I did was within my visits to my mother, I incorporated a bunch of visits with friends. So, for an example, I arrived on the Wednesday morning. On the Thursday morning, I had breakfast with two of my best friends, and that energized me to spend the day with my mom because it's not easy. Plus, when I go to my hometown, I stay at my best friend, and his youngest is my godson, and he's got learning disabilities. So, having said that, he's my sunshine at the end of the day. So I looked forward to spending time with Fred at the end of the day, and we did, and that makes it all better. With that though, I really concentrated on having to go through the steps I have to with my mother, plus the all the legal battles in the background and whatnot to get control of her estate so I can deal with it. I had ups and downs last week. I did tense a lot with, it's kind of odd. And she didn't ask me why I was tensing mostly with my feet. When my mom would get me to the level of, I'll say, frustration or aggravation, I tense with my feet so it wouldn't show, and then I'd release, and then I'd have, I would say another 45 minutes of sage into me to listen to the same questions every 3 minutes, and so on. So I with that, the I would say the only blameless discernment I had this week is on the focus. I did do all the focus. I was not as attentive as I was the first 5 weeks, listening and really focusing and doing PQ reps and celebrating. What I realized, and I realized that yesterday morning, oh my God, I celebrated, but I didn't record it, or I didn't celebrate as much as the previous weeks. So, and again, good segment to this week because, I mean, I've got some pretty tough decisions to make in the next month, and well, I mean, we'll get there on the next round, but it's very good practice to what I have to face, I would say, in the next couple of months.
Cool. Wow. Thank you so much, Alan. And I know this is like your high stress time of the year. On top of all that, you're visiting your mother. All these
I'm not even
getting to all these people all over Canada.
I'm not even mentioning that I'm getting death threats on LinkedIn. So
Oh, lovely.
Yes.
Death threats.
Well, not, well, I wouldn't say, but close to. It's like I get 2 or 3 a week, you know, on I don't know how they get a hold of me and whatnot, but it's kind of funny. You know, the last one was yesterday. I actually showed Marie. The guy started by saying you should be ashamed because he didn't get his widget. He got his delivery 4 days late. So
Just so you guys know, it's not that Alan's in the mafia. He is lead in a company that does package delivery in Canada. It's one of the
We're,
largest, like a UPS, but in Canada.
yeah.
He's the one of the heads.
yeah,
So it's
we're
not that he's
the
out hurting people. It's
no,
like they
no,
didn't get their package.
we're the biggest service provider for Amazon in Canada. So
How
Yeah.
dare you? How
I
dare
This
we
is,
bring up?
know. How dare we deliver 4 days late when Canada Post was on strike and it's the biggest time of the year. Hey,
yeah,
it happens.
yeah, yeah. So,
Mm, mm.
hey, what a great time to be doing this. And, I want to share a realization that I had yesterday. Every coach has a coach. So I'm talking to my coach about how my month was. And, I'm getting so much done. I'm so in Activate. My avoider is really under control. I'm more empathetic. I'm just so more in my sage. And, he has some experience with the PQ. And I'm like, you've got to he has yet to try the new program. Like, you have to do this. This is what's making the difference right now in my life. And it's not the first time I did it, made a big increase. But then teaching it another time, and now the recharge with all of you and listening to all these for a third time, if three times is the charm, it's finally sticking. So know that you don't have to get all of this the first time around. And I find, he says so much in each of these calls. I'm like, it's not sticking. Like, some of it is new. Like, what are these three damn questions? What are the questions he's asking for each? Theresa asked me, I'm like, I don't have that part nailed in yet, but it's more and more getting dialed in. So know that you're going to revisit this, that it's going to live in you as you go forward. And it might be 3 months from now that you notice, wow, I'm in my sage brain 90% of the time. And this is a really stressful season, and I'm busier than I've ever been. And whoa, look at what's happened. And all that. The key has been this activate. Yeah, sage in action. And that idea that activate underlines all of them, which is a whole new concept. He explained activate and the activate game and anticipating the saboteurs and all that the first time we did the training. And now he's like, no, activate's more than that. Activate is like the superpower that helps you orchestrate which sage power you're going to use and when you're going to use it. And that the magic of first steps, breaking things down and embracing just taking that first step. Absolutely incredible. For me, it's been a huge breakthrough. This week, I I just said, okay, I'll sit down and start this project. I'm teaching a webinar you're all invited on January 4th. I'm doing a webinar about goals for the year and using AI to help you set your goals and using some emotional freedom techniques and others to get rid of the roadblocks and doing it for Sedona Soul Adventures. And I just said, I'll just sit down and start playing around with it. And boom, I was in action and got almost all of it done. And I thought I was going to have to work on it through the holidays and all this. So just surprised at that power of taking the first step and how celebrating that first step is making a change is really creating a new habit. I mean, that listening to that daily focus first thing every morning, 9 out of 10 mornings, the last, like I'm there, it's happening, it's shifting. So hope that's helpful. Theresa.
So the activate mode is really, there's two questions. If you know it, the only question is what's needed now. What needs to happen, what's needed now. And sometimes what's needed now is I better accept or convert. Does that make sense? Like what's needed now might be I got to let this go. It's going to drive me crazy. So when you know what the next step is, then or where like the first step, activate would say take it. If you don't know what the first step is, which is where my brain will go like, well, I don't know, how do I know? Then the activate power says tap into a sage, tap into a different power, relax, chill out. The other thing I want to share is as I was going through it again, every time there's resistance or pushback, there's a saboteur. I'm sure he said that before. I just heard it this morning. When anything feels hard or effortful or difficult or challenging, there's a saboteur. So sometimes my job is to go, I just got to chill. I just got to breathe. I just got to, get into my sage brain. So I want you to think about that. Like, what is something that you feel sounds efforting or hard or however you would make that up? And then being able to go into either take the next step if you know what it is or chill out and then figure out which sage power makes the most sense. My family just canceled Christmas, not for everybody in the world, but just for us. And at first, my mom is she's really sick. And at first I was like, yes, actually, this is a really smart thing. And then I was like, but wait a minute. And I got all like up in my stuff again. And then the next version, my brain was doing this little thing. My next version was, and also, I can get a lot more things done. Like I can chill out. I don't have to go crazy Christmas shopping and plan it. You know what I mean? Like all the like Tracy's 8 things. I don't have to do any of that. It's all, and so what I ended up with, I went through this whole process and I watched my brain process it, was like, oh, I'm free. What would I like to do? What would I choose to do? What sounds cool? What sounds good? But that's not where I started, And Rick made the face too. He's like, oh, I'm like, yeah, I know, right? That's where I was. Oh, we're not having Christmas. My family canceled Christmas. And then it was like, my family canceled Christmas. Okay. Okay. I can get behind that. So that for me is like the epitome of the activate power. Um, we want to practice this with you guys. And we did it the first time we did the Sage Pod, but it's a little different. It's so funny. Shirzad has literally adopted everything that we have always said. We wish it was this more, and we've changed it this way. So I want you each to come up with something you want. It could be a goal. It could be a goal today. It could be a thing you want this week. It could be a thing you want in your life. It doesn't matter what the goal is. So think about what is something you want. Then think about what comes up. Is it a saboteur voice? Is it this is going to be hard? Is it what would come up? What would make it feel hard or like an effort? So we can use a simple example. Let's say you wanted to start moving more, but you're like, oh, it's too dark out. Oh, it's too cold out. Oh, it's too hot out. Oh, it's blank. Oh, I don't know what to do. You get what I'm saying? There's always a thing that will stop us. Activate is recognizing that something might stop us. You might be able to identify what it is. You might not know what it is, but it's the thing that says this is going to be hard. This is going to suck. And then come up with something you can say to it. And that's your step. Everybody I have lately, especially, I've noticed the words just. When we stop ourselves, if I say, I'm just going to work on my book for 30 minutes, I'm just going to work on the slides for the webinar for 5 minutes, I'm just going to, just takes the energy out of the, I have to finish it all right now. So I want you guys to go around, think about a goal. It can be something big, right? Like, Alan, you got to deal with, what am I going to do with my mom? That sounds hard. What's the voice that comes up? Great. What's something I can say to that voice or that feeling when it appears? And that's all you have to do. Rick, do you have any
Well, it was the movement one. And the voice says, when do you
when?
have time for that? You don't have time for that.
You're
Okay,
so
that's
busy.
scheduled today. You're so busy. And so my voice says, just walk out to the mailbox and
See,
check the
it's
mail.
that just. I'm telling you guys, there is magic in the word just. Rick knows this because I go off on it every time we do a pod. Just.
I'm just going to go to the mailbox and back. And if I do that between every session, I'll get in my walk for the day. The mailbox is a long ways, but not too far.
Just
Can't
do
get
it.
back in time for my next call, my next session. It's just a way to get movement in.
I love it. And there's this whole version that we're supposed to move X number of all, for a day. And I realized this. So I have an obesity gene. And one thing that turns it off is that I move my body enough that it actually stops the alleles from doing what they do. Does that make any sense? So if I move or exercise 50 to 60 minutes a day, not only is it better for my mood, not only am I more functional, I have fewer cravings. It turns off genes that I don't want on. But it doesn't mean I have to do 60 minutes at a time. I can do 20. I can do 15. I can do, does that, am what I'm saying make sense? To get the effects. And I recognize when I'm not moving that much, I start to get grumpy and unhappy. And then I want to go out less. I just want to watch TV. Like, it's a self-fulfilling saboteur. So it doesn't necessarily have to be, I got to go do a thing for a long time. It's like, you can just. Anyone else have a goal or an idea of something they would like to accomplish or feel or have? Be do have?
Well, mine's obvious. I mean, I just talked about it. I need to be placed in a home. Um, and listening to what you just said, I think I just need to get one or two more people to talk to her about it, because right now I'm the only person that is addressing that with her. So I need to have some allies to do
I
it.
just need an ally or two.
Yep.
Damn, that's powerful. Thank you. Who else has a thing they'd like to get accomplished? Tracy.
I would like to learn more about investing. This is something I've been thinking about a lot. It's not something I know much about, whether it's 401ks, 529s, Roth IRAs. It's just something there's so much information. So, where to start? I will use I will just focus or learn something new each week. I don't want to do it daily. If I say, like, okay, this week will be 529s, then I'll just focus some time during the week to learn about 529s. So I'll just learn to focus or learn something new weekly.
I love it.
I love it. It triggers my Innovate. As you all share these, my Innovate. Boom, boom, boom. Like, oh, you can sit down with AI and say, I want to learn about this. Create a lesson plan for me and break it down. And what would be the easiest first step? And how could I celebrate that? And it'll tell you all the answers. Anyway.
Well, Rick, you'll have to let me know what this session you're going to do for the new year. I'd be interested.
Webinar, the 4th, 8 a.m. Pacific time, 9 a.m. your time.
Pacific. Oh yeah. And in the chat, I put there's a financial planner that I really like. She's also a yogini. So she's like, and her title is like warrioress, and she
Awesome.
does financial planning and yeah. Anyway,
Thank you.
all right. Who else has a thing they want to accomplish?
I have a thing. Mine is around movement also. And I have all the excuses why I can't do that. But what I think I'm gonna do, what I'm just gonna do is when I'm on meetings, oftentimes, if the meeting ends early, it'll end 10 minutes early, and people always say, "Oh, we're gonna give you the time back." And I hate that expression because it's my time, regardless of, whatever. You're not giving me anything, right? But what if I accept that they're giving me time back so that I can use that 10 minutes for movement? Then it's not something, it's already been scheduled on my calendar, right? It's just using the full time of the meeting. So that's what I'm just gonna do. And
So,
I've been very much like, oh, I need to do a program. I need to do 30 minutes at a time or 60 minutes at a time. And if I can't, it's all or nothing. And what if I just take those 10 minutes?
so what are you going to just do in those just in those 10 minutes? What do you think? We might.
Um, I've got weights in my office. So I'll probably do some weights, do some squats and do that kind of stuff. I still could use a program. I mean, I've got several apps that have 10-minute workouts. I've got apps that have 30-minute workouts, but you could break them up into 10 minutes. So yes, I've got options, but I'm thinking weight bearing. I do have a walking pad in my office that I've used one time for 3 minutes. Um,
I want one of
I'll,
those so badly. And like all the people who have them are like, I never use it. I'm like, oh,
yeah, I mean, all I need to do is, pull it down firm against the wall because right now it's up against the wall, so I just need to put it down and I can use it. Um, so yes, I have tools that I'm just going to use.
so you'll just pick one of those three. I'll grab onto an internet thing. I'll just pull the walking pad down, or I'll just grab some weights and do some upper body and some lower body. And
Yeah. And it depends. I mean, there are times where I have an hour-long meeting and it's done after 25 minutes. So I would have 30 minutes in that case to do a full program.
dang, let us know how that
Yeah.
goes. I love that. I love that option.
Yeah.
It's like Rick doing PQs every time he washed his hands for a while. It's like, oh, I'm already going to wash my hands. So I'm already going to be in a meeting. So
Yeah. It's
I'll
already
do a little
scheduled
something.
time. Might as well.
Love that. Thank you for sharing. Don, something you want to be
Hi.
have.
So I've got a broad range of goals. Today I don't have any one in particular that I'm concentrating on. But after listening to this week's module, I already put that one of the steps in place, just do the first step, right? Which was easier than I thought. Another thing that I really that really came to mind or that really hit me hard was the when he was talking about the needle, right? How he hates the needle and how
Yeah.
like the whole day he anticipated. And I noticed that's what I do with in a conflict situation, right? Is I'll sit there and not be present with myself.
Mm.
And it drives me freaking nuts until I just listen to this thing. So I put that in place this last day and a half or 2 days or whatever. I think I listened to it yesterday morning and just did the first step. But before I did that first step, I tried, I'm trying to stay out of the thought of that first step and then concentrating on the next step right afterwards. So been my experience with this whole goal, well, not goal thing, but the first step thing, or just start doing it, right? And then the celebration afterwards. So yeah, it was enlightening this week, really. I mean, it's like the perfect subject for me this week. Like this, all of last week's module or the daily focuses, and then this module was something else. Like a universe is talking to me today. Yeah.
You know, when avoider is one of your top saboteurs, activate is one of the most powerful weeks of the program. For me, at least that's been my notice because it gets me out of avoidance. It's like, okay, just going to take that first step, going to make it easy, going to make it simple, going to celebrate what it is. And that's been a challenge shifting from, that you don't get to celebrate until it's all done was drilled into my being. And that it's been really a challenge to shift out of that and sincerely start celebrating the first step. And sometimes I only take the first step and celebrate that and put it aside and take the first step again some other time. And that's important because otherwise the first step becomes I'm supposed to take the first, then the second, then the third, then the fourth, and it's supposed to be easy, and it's no longer a first step. I've turned it into the whole damn project again, and I end up procrastinating. So, like, celebrate taking just the first step.
You guys have to know every time someone says the word celebrate, I do a little dance. It's just this little function thing I started doing. So every time we're on a pod and somebody says celebrate, I'll do a little thing. Even if it's like it's a chair dance, like the gopher from what's that movie where the gopher does the weird gopher dance?
Caddyshack.
Caddyshack. Yeah. So every time someone says the word celebrate, I I make my body celebrate something. So the next thing we're going to do is you might not know which sage power you want to move into. So we're going to give you a couple of questions to ask or a couple of thoughts.
Right. So what are the questions that you ask if you want to explore? So it would be, do I need more to figure out if it's explore? Do I need more information here? Oh, let's explore. Let's find out. Do I have the whole truth? Do I need more? That idea of, I like the explore tool when someone is talking to me of repeating back the last few words that they said. And that allows us to just simply go deeper into whatever they've said and they feel heard. I picked that up from Chris Voss, who's a hostage, an FBI hostage negotiator. And he does that to keep the hostage takers continuing to talk and to not upset them and have them accidentally or get angry and start killing hostages. So it's very, very effective whenever you're listening to someone to just simply repeat back the last three words that they said as a question. And that moves you right into that explore mode. And the whole thing about this, when you're dealing with other people, is those mirror neurons, right? When you start coming from sage, they mirror it back and begin moving into sage themselves. And then, when I'm stuck with, sometimes I'll ask myself, what else? What other solutions are there? And that instantly puts me in innovate mode. And as I innovate, it's always, what do I like about that? Yes, anding it, playing that game as a way to navigate through life.
And I love that because Rick is good he loves Chat GPT and AI. So AI is a great place to get a first step too. What would the first step be? And the other thing I wanted to mention, when Don, you were talking, oftentimes we think setting a boundary is going to be super hard and scary. And I will see people spin and churn and I love helping people through that step. And then when they go to set the boundary, it's like, oh, that was actually easier than I thought. So it's that whole prep work in our head of like Shirzad going to get the needle and being afraid of needles, like getting in the car started him scary. And anybody who has PTSD or medical PTSD, that like the step starts and you're like, oh my God, the testing or the thing or the waiting, but it's not real. It's all the stuff we built in our head. So one of the other questions, empathize. I love this version. I want you guys to try this on. So empathize, I have turned into what is there to love? Because empathize might be there. If let's say I'm in a disagreement with somebody, I might not feel love for myself in that moment. That might not be the accessible one. I might not love the other person because, we're in a disagreement. But what is there to love about this situation? Is it me? Is it them? Is it something outside of me? Is it love for the friendship or the relationship? Is it love for the fact that I can have a disagreement with somebody and still know we're connected? Does that make sense what I'm saying? Like, what is there to love? And it might not be empathize for self or other, but it might just be the situation. And the last one is navigate, which is one of my new favorites, is like, what's important here? What matters most? And Rick always said this when we did it before, which I loved. Rick, by the way, he'd say it's your North Star. Because I never really got into the navigate power. He's like, it's the North Star. It's that guiding principle. And that's really what it is. Excuse me. It's that what is the most important thing for me in this? What is the overarching goal, desire, want? What is my higher self good? What would my higher self say is the most important thing? So again, the activate power is do whatever is next. And if you don't know what's next, just pick a sage power. Just, just do it. Nike got it right, man. They nailed it with the just do it. Um, but pick a sage power. Try one out. See how that works for you, especially given what you are all up to accomplishing right now, everything you shared.
I love that he's now added in the what's important for the
Mm.
navigate or what matters most, because that would naturally come up. And all the times that we taught that week, like there'd always be a few people in the group that when they met their higher, wiser, elder self, it was like, that's not important. That doesn't matter. Here's what really matters in the situation. And like we kept hearing that over and over and over again. And now it's a part of the training. So it must be something that happens pretty universally when people go into navigate mode. They discover what is really important and what really matters. And I remember thinking, that was just unique to me the first time that I did it, my higher, wiser, elder self laughing. So he's redone that exercise. It's a completely new version of that we will do next week. And he's kind of reorganized this idea of applications based on top of an operating system for understanding the PQs. And listen to it's going to take a little longer, just like last time, the last week takes longer to listen to, and there's more things, and you don't have to listen to them all, but you'll find them really interesting. It's like light bulbs turned on for me. He was talking about using an operating system as persuasion, and I'm like, oh, well, this helps me get people to sign up for programs and to and all that decision really coming from, which he mentioned this week, the frontal cortex, the sage brain, not the thinking brain, not the analytical brain, that all decisions are really made from that place, which has been wonderful. So I've just been staying in my sage brain lately, and everybody's been saying yes. I presented 12 retreats in the last week and a half and had 10 yeses and credit cards and moving forward. And my normal rate would be about 6. So it's like, wow. So these applications, listen to them all. You might find a new one in the mix that really appeals to you.
Mm, so powerful. And I'm going to give one last plug for Activate because it's my favorite Sage Power. The reason movement feels so good is because you're activating. You can't walk to the mailbox hunched over and squinchy, right? You don't do squats I mean, you could, but it's less comfortable, right? Like you start breathing. And when you start breathing, you need to expand your lungs. That is literally the activate power. And I put that together last time we did this. It was like, oh my God, that's why movement, motion changes emotion because it is activate. You're moving forward. You just happen to be moving your body. And it's really hard to be like depressed and sitting on a couch and do squats and depressed and like looking at all of these things on social media you don't have and lifting weights. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a natural activate power movement. All
So what
right.
a week to play with that through the holiday. So have a really amazing week here, folks, and we'll wrap it all up just in time for the new year next week.
Get ready for your new year, y'all. Thank you.
Merry Christmas to all you guys.
Merry Christmas. Think of me on your Christmas morning, and I'll be like, I'm gonna eat. I'm gonna lay down, I'm gonna sleep in. I'm gonna just chill out.
Oh, you'll be activating something.
I probably, knowing me, yeah, I absolutely will. Thank you. You're right. All right, I'm gonna hit stop.